Hello.
Hi.
Hi. We'll just wait a few minutes till some people jump on. It looks like it's all happening. I'm just going to go to our YouTube channel. Yeah, cool. So quite a few people here, 25 people already.
Fantastic.
Perfect. Which is a lot of people. And a really interesting discussion today because Alex is going to give you the spiel of designers and trade and a big part of business lately. So, yeah. I'm just going to quickly mention a few things and then I'm going to head out and it's Shiraz and Alex are going to take over. So we're coming into the busy holiday Christmas season. It's going to be a lot of Bluethumb staff have taken leave during this period. So just be aware that I'm working, but I'm only just not the public holidays. So I'm handling all sort of buyer inquiries, which are very time consuming, and also artist inquiries. So I'm going to be very busy. So it might take a time, but I'll get to you, and just keep that in mind. There's one staff member on and everyone else is away for the Christmas period. So from the 24th to the 28th, well, I think that's right, 23rd to the 28th, Bluethumb is closed. So, that everyone's taking a week off, a well-deserved week off, I'd say, because it's been a crazy year. Just keep in mind as well with orders, because there's so many public holidays coming up, the deliveries might be delayed by a bit. So just keep in mind that, if something says that it will arrive in 3 days, there might be 2 public holidays in sort of that week, so it might not arrive on time. So that's all I was going to say. I'm going to be really quick and get back to work. But over to Shiraz. Who's going to steal my spot? Thank you. Bye.
Hi, guys. So I'll just quickly intro Alex so she can go through the points. She wants to talk about a few different things when it comes to our trade projects and what points are included in there and what's important and what we should all keep in mind. So I'll just let Alex take over from here.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to talk to everybody about trade and our trade clients and how it all works, because we are getting more and more project orders. So I am reaching out to a lot more artists. So I just want everyone to know how it all works and why I might be contacting you. Just if you don't know me already, my name is Alexandra, or Alex for short. So if you see me, my email's from Alexandra, that's me. I'm actually from Brisbane. I'm an interior designer, so I've been working in the commercial field for about seven years. So my background is interior design, so I'm used to working with clients. So it makes it quite easy in this job because I know what they want and how it all works. If you're wondering what trade means, essentially, we work with interior designers, stylists, architects, anyone in that sort of creative field when they're specifying artworks for their residential and commercial projects. So in the past, we've provided artworks for smaller residential projects, offices, aged care, retirement living villages, and apartment buildings also. So anything that falls within those categories, that's where we're trying to build up our portfolio. Obviously it's a really big industry and it's big business. So working with these types of clients allows us to, get more of your original art into these spaces. So I just want to go through the sort of the process of how it all works. Small and large projects can work a little bit differently, and the larger projects can be a lot more time consuming. But essentially, we have contact with the designer. We may get a brief from them of what they're needing, what they're looking for the project. So they might send through some photos, some floor plans, what kind of style they want, size, all of that sort of information. And then we will provide to them a curation of selections. So in doing that, we obviously really rely on artists who are continuously keeping their profiles up to date. So making sure, the artwork that you've got on your profile is available, is ready to go. All of the information is correct. That's really important, that you've got, a good main image and supporting photos, because, that's all that the designer sees at this point. So we want to make sure that we are putting the best information forward to them. We also, we rely on you guys to respond quickly. And, in terms of, for packing, sometimes we're on quite a tight deadline, so quick to pack. And obviously, that you're happy to be involved with these kinds of projects. So once we, there's often quite a bit of back and forth with the designer. So once we have locked in the artworks, we might place the artworks on hold. So the way it works is that from us, we speak to the designer. The designer might, will have their client as well. So there's two other people involved. So essentially, we're putting the artworks on hold so that the designer can present these artworks to their client, hopefully approve, and then move forward with the ordering process. So a lot of the time I will contact you I'll send you a little email saying that I've put the artworks on hold for a project, with, whatever other information I know. Usually within 2 weeks, we sort of know what's happening, whether it's going ahead, whether they're chopping and changing, whether we're processing the order. Usually, in some cases, it can take a little longer. In those cases, I'll obviously try and keep you guys in the loop so you know. There's also, just in some people don't know that when I say to put the artwork on hold, that actually sets your artwork as inquire now on the artwork listing. So what that means is that somebody can't go in and purchase it straight away. When they click on that button, they talk to us, and then we can then decide whether we can sell the artwork or whether we talk to them about a commission. So in a few cases, the artist has actually got 2 sales out of it because the project has gone through and they've made the commission out of it as well. As I mentioned before, for large projects, there can be quite a wait. So often, once the artworks are all approved from the client, we'll process the order, and usually that is via bank transfer. So then from there, we are waiting for payment to be made before we start organising the deliveries. It can take weeks. In one case at the moment, we're sort of 2 months. So it really just does depend project to project. And as I said before, I always try to keep the artists in the loop so you know what's happening. Most of the, I haven't had a project yet that's been processed that's fallen through. It's just the way that these larger companies work. It just does take some time in their system, excuse me, for them to process everything, make payment, and do all that. So it can take time, but please don't stress about it. With these orders as well, please be aware that the return policy does still apply. So they do have 7 days to let us know if it's not quite right. That's just as standard. If you're opted into promotions as well, if you're not aware, our trade clients offered discounts. So the discounts is 10% off orders under $2,000 and 15% off orders over $2,000. And those discounts are shared between Bluethumb and the artist as per the standard commission. Yeah, the standard split. So if you don't know this, and for some first orders it can be a bit of a surprise, but it is something that you should think about if you do need to factor just that little bit more into your pricing. Of course, that's totally up to you. So that's generally the process. It's fairly simple, but it can be a little bit time consuming. That's all. I just wanted to go through, obviously there's benefits for you guys being involved in these projects. Obviously you're building your relationship with Bluethumb, which is really good, because then we know that we can rely on you when it comes to project work, or if we have any issues, and there's been times where I need a last minute artwork within 2 days, and I've been able to call an artist. She's been able to drop it off to the client the next day. Like, that was really, really helpful, and we really appreciate when you guys go the extra mile. Obviously there's more opportunity for sales with trade. The big commercial project we're doing at the moment, that's just short of 100 artworks. So there's a lot more opportunity with trade work. And obviously having your artwork in a commercial project, it can be visible to a lot more people, which is, great for you guys. I just wanted to run through a few sort of tips, I guess, just to make sure that your artwork is suitable for a commercial application, i.e., it needs to be varnished. If it's a large artwork, you need to make sure it's got sort of suitable framing, so the canvas doesn't warp. Certificate of authenticities should be provided, and actually they should be provided with any sale, but especially with trade, because they want to keep that with the artwork. Little things that your name, the artwork name, and the date should always be written on the back of the artwork or on the frame, so that it can be people know who the artist is and what it's called and all of that. I have been to one of our projects, and I've had a look at all the artworks, and there was a few that just had nothing on the back. So you should be putting your name and the artwork name on the back. It's really, really important, as I mentioned earlier, that your artwork listings are correct. So the information, the size, the photos, the few returns that I have dealt with lately has just been because the photos are quite off from the artwork in real life. So, just be careful if you are doing, little bits of brightening or enhancing or anything like that to your photos. It's really important that they are still true to the artwork. And of course, putting in additional photos will always help the client or, general buyers decide, you've got your main image, then you've got your detail shots, even a picture of the side. A lot of clients do ask if the sides are painted. I don't know. I sort of think it's about 50-50 whether people want it or not. It's a personal preference.
Yeah, it is a very personal preference. It really depends on if they're going to be getting them framed or not. Some of them, even if they don't have it framed, even like if they have white walls, or they would prefer a white border.
Yeah.
A darker color or some sort of like base color border.
Yeah.
But it is really personal based on who's handling it.
Yeah.
A few other points that I just want to mention from experience. Have you gone through everything? Okay.
I'm all good, thanks.
Cool. Just with trade orders, I see a few questions coming in, and we'll address to them individually. Just a few things that I wanted to mention, just based out of experience dealing with the trade clients. Before Alex joined in Bluethumb, I was looking after most of the trade clients, and some of the projects do get quite complicated. One important thing, like from our point of view, and because it really doesn't affect you in that sense, but from our point of view, the bigger the client or the project is, the more complicated things are in terms of everything, in terms of decision making, approval, payments, getting things cleared. Also, the stakes get a bit higher as well. So, when it comes to delivering something, or, they need a pretty specific window of saying, I need this delivered with between 12 and 1 p.m. on this particular day. So, a lot of things sort of get really complicated. We can't just behave the way we usually do in terms of, we'll tell you a day or a 3-hour window and stuff like that. For trade clients, and when we say trade clients, it's a pretty big blanket. So the people that we work with include interior designers. So the interior designers now work with residential projects. That means they have individual clients. So they have someone has built a new house, and they've hired an interior designer to design the whole house. And these interior designers are picking up their couches, their furniture, their finishings, and then based on those things, they find suitable artworks. So when it comes to that, so for these kind of projects, everything is really personal. So it's almost impossible for us to say, these guys go for larger pieces or smaller pieces, or, canvases or, abstracts or something. So it really depends on who owns the house and what do they like. So that all comes really case by case basis. And the good thing with these guys is that things are easy to deal with because these are personal clients. So we can just jump on the call, say, hey, it's not possible today. Can we do this tomorrow? Or, we need a couple more days and stuff like that. So as long as we communicate well, it's fine. The other thing with these guys, it's the project values. So the number of artworks that they're buying are usually small. So they range between 5 to 10 artworks, not more than that. When we get so other kind of interior designers are who handle commercial projects. They're hired usually by architects. So, for example, an architect has finished an old age care home. They will appoint a bunch of different interior designers and give them different sections of the building and say, this is the theme, this is what needs to be done. And then these guys will pick up suitable artworks accordingly. Now, we have contacts with a lot of different designers that we worked in the past on different projects, and they come to us with the floor plans and, the furnishings and samples because nothing has been done yet. So, we can't go to the site and see what it looks like. It's all on the paper and on the computer. So we have to sort of do things based on that. Again, it's difficult to say what size would it be, or, what color, what style. It really depends on what goes in there. So we can't actually specify like the theme of the artwork. Another thing that I was going to say with trade clients, especially residential or commercial or any sort of even like people buying things for their offices, things which are more important than discounts or value of the artwork or all these things are quality. So what they really want is when they pick an artwork and then it's delivered, what happens is they've picked an artwork online, which they don't get to see in person. We don't get to see in person. And it's delivered directly from you guys to the client who has actually not been in touch, doesn't know how things work and stuff like that. So for them, the first impression, and when they open the artwork, when they put it up first on the wall, that is the most important thing. So if it is, like Alex was saying, if it is a large artwork, say, for example, it's 1.5 meters wide, does it have enough backing? Is it in a strong enough frame? Does it have a hanging wire? Is the wire strong enough to hold the weight of it? Are the edges properly finished? I mean, colored or not colored, but are they finished properly? Like you shouldn't see blank canvas or, things like that. Does it have a certificate of authenticity? All these factors, which are not related to painting the artwork itself or the cost of the art itself, are really important. That is the first impression. So that's really something to keep in mind. In the long term, you would see that a lot of successful sort of established artists focus on that quite a lot. So packaging the artwork, the presentation, writing a thank you note with it and stuff like that is really important. The other thing is ease and reliability. So that is for us as well as our designer client, but not their client, because we are sort of handling all the legwork for the main client. So how easy it is for us to talk to you, to get replies, how quick it is. If there's a change in the plan in the last minute, it almost always happens that something will go wrong, or they've changed their mind, or they want it delivered somewhere else, and stuff like that. How accommodating we are, it's really important, because if that we don't have that sort of flexibility or even reliability on each other, the designer client on us on the artist, then it gets really difficult. And I would also say timing is one of the important things as well, is how quickly things can be turned around. And obviously, like no one can be committed saying I will always be available at 100% of the time. Obviously, that's not something that happens. We don't do that as well, and that is acceptable. But what I'm trying to say is just keeping each other informed. Like, for example, that you are and this is something that we practice, and that's why I'm sharing that with you. For example, that you're involved in a project, and it's in transit, or it's being picked up, or it's sort of like still happening. And if you think that something's not going to work out, or something's changing, and there's not much we can do, there's no reason to stress about it. Just keep us looped in. Just say this is happening, what we can do. The easiest thing, and the thing that we like to do, is just communicate with the client quite quickly. So just say, hey, this has changed, just a heads up, just so that this is happening, and not leaving it to the last minute, just so that if there's anything that can be changed and stuff like that. So it all comes down to communication and reliability, pretty much. Like, these are all the factors I'm mentioning. These are not related to quality of the painting, and like the style of the painting and the price of the painting. This is all sort of like relationship stuff that I'm mentioning too, which is also quite important. Cool. So this is all about the trade stuff. And one thing I also want to mention is the bigger clients, the trade discounts is not what attracts them towards a service like Bluethumb. It's reliability and it's ease, so efficiency. And a lot of bigger trade clients hesitate before they come to us as well initially, is because they, the first impression is like, oh, it's a website for purchase. There's not going to be a lot of one-to-one personal communication, and there's not going to be one-point contact. Every time I call the call center, we're going to get someone else. And that's what we're trying to change, the impression. And the clients that we've had who've started with smaller projects, they get to know that they get one point of contact. Either I'll be talking to them, or Alex will be talking to them, or Sarah will be talking to them. And we'll be that one point contact for them. So if anything changes, all they need to do is send us a text, and we'll sort of take care of things. So that's the most important thing for them, is reliability of things. The discounts is something that most of the bigger clients pass on to their clients. So it's a matter of, because they don't charge them per artwork, they charge them sort of per project. So it's not something that brings them to us. It's more of a I don't know, it's like a trade relations sort of a thing that happens. And a lot of times, and we've had a lot of bigger projects, but there were no trade discounts involved. And they knew that they had that option, but they didn't want it, because it didn't matter to them, and that happens as well. So it's not always the case, but it's obviously a sort of like a sweetener to the deal that happens.
There's quite a few comments.
Cool. Maybe let's just go through them and address them, and then I'll talk about the other stuff.
Yep. Marie, I think Shiraz has probably answered your question about 3 things that make it easier for us when we work with the artist. Reliability, all of that.
Yeah.
So we might skip that one. Do you charge separate commission for this project? I'm not sure if you mean
we don't.
Bluethumb commission?
No, so we don't charge anything in terms of like the advisory service or anything. And we're pretty transparent about our commissions with the artists as well, because our clients obviously do want to know what's going on and where do we make our money from, and it's no secret. So we tell them there's no fee for them. We do all this and hope that they buy something from us. All the initial contact, helping them with stuff, helping them choose and all that kind of stuff is completely free, with no commitments and stuff like that. And It's the service we sell rather than the product.
Yeah, and it's all about building that relationship with the designer as well. You know, because often, you know, we do a lot of work for them, and, you know, maybe their client decides, oh, they don't want the artwork anymore, or they're going to leave it for another year or something like that. That happens. Like, that's just the industry. But, you know, because we have spent that time with the designer, you know, it means that they will think of us next time for their next project. Yeah.
And that's what we really go for, because we handled a project in April, which was a huge project of almost $100,000 worth of artworks. And things did go wrong, you know, like in the 11th hour, there was a problem with framing, and the clients, the interior designers, were just like on the phone. I think it was a Labor Day or something like that, and they were just like, oh, you know, this has gone wrong, what we can do. And all we had to do was just talk them, you know, through and just say, it's fine, we'll sort it out. And it sort of builds that kind of trust that even if things do go down, they can rely on us. And that's what we really want in any relationship, to be honest, not just with the clients. Lisa, about rental program for trade, we have thought about it, and a few clients, surprisingly not that many, a few people have asked us about it, and we did provide a service for one of them. We asked them, I mean, we agreed to provide the service, but it didn't go through, but rather we push them to buy those artworks instead, because with rental services, there are a lot of variables involved that we don't really want to get into, because that involves sending your artworks from you to them for a while, keeping it there, and then also bringing it back, because a lot of things get involved in that case, is because fine, we'll insure it from here to there and back there. What happens when it's with them? Who insures it? Who pays for that? And all that kind of stuff. It might be something that we may look into if there are a lot of requirements, but at this point, we'd rather not. We push them, not push them, but, you know, we tell them that it's much better. Like, if you're hiring something for a month and if it costs $1,000 or something like that, you'd rather just buy it. What's the point? That helps with a lot of people with, you know, when they want to hire something for shorter periods of time, so like only for, you know, a week, or like house openings and stuff like that. But we really don't want to get into that. Oh God, these comments keep jumping. It's so annoying. Thanks, Leith. Yeah, it's good to see you here. I don't think you've joined in many of the webinars before. And guys, all the other questions which are not related to trade, I'll address them later. So I'm not ignoring anyone, just looking for the trade questions. Oh, so Ave saying that when uploading a new artwork, is there anything else that we should be doing to select for trade projects? No, Eve, so you don't have to do anything when you're uploading artworks, because we don't know if it will be picked up for a trade project or not. So all the artworks from artists who are opted in promotions are sort of in the pool where the clients pick up the artworks from. So like I said, it's all very personal and very case-by-case basis. So if your artwork fits into the style of the project, they will pick it. And then from there, we get in touch with you. So before they've actually chosen your work, we can't actually tell you if it will pick up and be included or not. And,
you know, it's all case by case. And, you know, a lot of the time as well, you know, some of the designers are just happy to browse the website. They find what they want and they just send it to me. And say, you know, these are the ones that I want for the project, check they're all available and all of that. So sometimes we don't even put any suggestions together for them. So it can happen both ways.
Yeah. Jen saying about returns from interior designers. Jen, we've actually had the exact opposite experience so far. Touch wood, we haven't had any cases where things are getting returned. On the odd case where things do get returned, the reason is quite obvious. So, like, you know, we've had cases where either something wasn't up to the mark of
the size.
Yeah, because if the size was big enough and it's not it doesn't have strong enough backing or like hanging arrangements and stuff like that, obviously it will be returned. But we haven't had issues where people try something for a week and then return it.
Yeah, from my experience, I think the smaller projects where they're just getting one or two, or usually it's just one really. So I think that they're more likely to return. Whereas when you're looking at the large projects where they're getting 20 to 100 to whatever artworks, there's not much room for them to return. They've got a deadline. They need to get the project done. So often it's going, straight to framing and then on the wall. So unless it arrives damaged or it's completely not, dimensions are incorrect or colors are really wrong or something like that, I think they are, less likely to return as well.
Yeah. Dawn, I'll just answer your question as well. No, they do not expect all the canvases to be brand new. They understand, the canvases are reworked, and that's absolutely fine. As long as they see the finished product and that's what they like, that's absolutely fine. That's no problem.
Cool. I think
that's the end of it. But if there are more comments that come, we can answer them individually. Trade is a really important aspect. We are doing more and more as we go on. We are teaming up with new people and services and to be more open and reliable. And obviously we want to keep you guys in the loop all the time because, like Alex said, it's really complicated and quite unpredictable based on who's the project with and all those kind of things. And when all these things do land in sort of like the commercial side of the world, a lot of things change or things get put on hold. Our boss is traveling overseas for 3 months now, so we will not get a confirmation and stuff like that. So we will try and we will keep you guys looped in as much as we do. We try to tell all the things that happen in the background so you understand if there's a delay, why there's a delay. If the payment is delayed, why the payment is. So we obviously don't want to delay any payments to you guys. It's the most important thing for us, and our relationship is more important than pretty much anything else. So we don't want to have that, but it is difficult for us as well. Like if we haven't received any payment from the clients, we actually can't pay because there's no money to pay you. But when that happens, we do try to communicate quite quickly, so there's no gap in there.
Jeff just said, you mentioned sides of canvases, unsure whether you recommend that they be painted or left bare. It is really based on personal preference. I think if you do leave it bare, or if you want to leave it bare, if you could be open to the suggestion of painting it, we'd appreciate that, because a lot of times clients will come and say, the client wants to make sure all of the sides are painted. Can this be done? So I know that's been done in the past. So if you're open to doing that, once we know it's going through and all of that, if you're happy to paint the sides so that our client is happy, then we appreciate that.
And that's the kind of flexibility that we were talking about as well, because you never know what they want. So it's better for them if they have all the options. What Caroline is asking is sort of comes in the same thing as well. They don't always need framed artworks, because sometimes they know that they're buying from a lot of different artists. They wouldn't want the artist to do the framing most of the time. They wouldn't want the artist to do the framing so that they can get it framed all together so it's uniform, which makes sense because they'll be hung in the same floor or whatever. But for residential projects, they sometimes would ask you. But if that's the case, obviously we'll communicate with you, and we all know that there's going to be additional pricing and all that kind of additional cost. So that's nothing to worry about. If you're listing your artworks unframed on Bluethumb, that's fine. It's not going to stop the trade clients from selecting your artwork.
Deborah, your last two paintings, they were for a trade project, and they went into the CEO's office, and he absolutely loves them. So thank you. Jen, about the sale, I'll address that in a minute.
we'll have that. I'll give you all the details, and with the details, we'll send you email as well so that you have all that. I'll address that in a second. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Maybe do you want to stay for a while? If the questions come up, I'll move on to what I want to talk about. Cool. So just quickly addressing that, what Sarah was saying earlier is that most of the team is on holiday. I'm going on holiday from next week, so I won't be here. I'll be back in the second week of January. So it's Sarah and Alex here mostly, and then Sarah will be looking after pretty much everything from in just before the week of Christmas, and then the week between 25th and 1st. We all have it off, so things will be closed a bit. Sales will still go through, but if you do sell something, don't worry about shipping it soon. People know that things are closed, but either Ed or Sarah will still sort of be talking to people. So if people do want to buy something, we'll obviously be around, but we're not going to be in the office. One important thing is that all the payments that are due in that week between 25th and the 1st, I don't exactly know what the days they are. All the payments that are due will be rolled over to the following Monday. So the payments will not be made on that day as well, because the full staff is on leave and the system sort of will be on shutdown. Cool. All right. I'm gonna move. Yeah. So with the over the Christmas, so we are not actually doing Christmas sales. We don't do Christmas sales or sort of like Black Friday sales and stuff, and we do get asked a lot, and obviously a lot of people expect us to do that, but as we've said repeatedly before, we're trying to sort of move away from that thing where we don't have a discounted platform for sales. What we do though is reward our repeat buyers, so people who bought with us before. So we reward them, and so we can keep them on the site and build a better relationship, and get more people, obviously from our marketing, but also from word of mouth from our other clients, which goes a long way in terms of relationship building. We are obviously we are the largest online art gallery in Australia, and but still staying on the ground and building those relationships with our clients is the most important thing for us. We don't want to move into sort of like the discounted and the sales sort of a situation. In saying that, in January, from second week, so that's 7th, which is the Monday, starting that for 3 weeks, we will have a promotions sale sort of a thing only for our repeat clients, so people who've bought on Bluethumb before. The details, the percentage, and what's going to be offered, we'll send out an email. If not this week, then in the coming Monday, we'll send out the artist EDM, the artist newsletter, and we'll put all the details in there for you guys to read, the nitty gritty of it, how it's going to work, and all that kind of thing. But essentially, obviously, it will be up to 15% max of what they get. And it will also be a very curated sale for the client. So not curated in terms of what artworks are there, but rather curated in terms of who gets what. We will be analyzing a lot of behavior from the clients and what they've bought, what style they've bought, how much they've spent, and we'll take all those factors in and deliver things that are more relevant to them, rather than saying take 15% off whatever you want. It helps us get to know our clients more, and not just give everyone the same thing to choose from. Cool. We do have we got a few requests from some of the artists about sort of like a Christmas video that if you wanted to share, we're gonna put a link in the comments if I can. Otherwise, I'll leave it to Freddie or Megan's capable hands to do that. I don't think I can post a link in the comments. So it's just a video of sort of like a Christmas voucher thing that some of the artists want, because in this, like, a lot of people do try to buy artworks, but obviously it's difficult to buy art for someone else. So it's much easier for them to give them the option to buy a voucher and stuff like that. So if you guys do want to share that, you're welcome to. We are sharing that as well. Cool. So that's more the logistics sort of a thing, the day to day. I do want to talk about our Christmas gift to you, which is quite exciting actually. And I did mention it a little bit in the email that I sent out. So the new artist dashboard that we've been talking about for a very long time is almost done. It has a lot of new stuff, a lot of new details, a lot of sort of ground level information. So right now, all you can see is how many views your profile gets and how many views your artworks do get. But what we've sort of gone down in the granular level, and we're telling you how each of your artwork is performing, where things are coming from, how you can use that information, a lot of fancy graphs and charts of what you've sold, where you sold, and all those kind of things. And it'll help you quite a lot. I've been asked to not give you a lot of information on here because on the coming Monday, we'll send out the artist newsletter, and we're going to include a link to a video of sort of a walkthrough on how things are going to work and what it's going to look like. And I don't have the date on when it's being released yet, so I can't say too much about it, but it is really exciting. Obviously, it's a very big project and has a lot of information. So when it's first released, there's going to be a bit of bugs, or like things are not working as they're supposed to, and all that kind of thing. But we're thoroughly testing it. And when we push that live to you guys, it's going to be really interesting, and we'd obviously love a lot of feedback from you guys as well when it's there. And a lot of new things are coming as well in the new year. Bluethumb as a brand is growing, and we're trying to stay grounded, but also take the leap between a startup to a company, as an established company. A lot of things are changing in the way we brand ourselves, and all the things that we're related to, and how we communicate, and all those things. And we'll keep you guys looped in as things go. Cool. I've already talked about the sales. Yes, so for sales, also be mindful that you're opted into promotions, because, like I said, like all these things, all the artists who are opted in promotions are presented. Otherwise, the sale and the promotions are not applicable to the artists who are not opted in. To do so, I think you can go to your profile, edit profile, and then there's a checkbox somewhere, say opt into promotions and stuff like that. If you can't find it, just hop on chat on the site, and we can send you a link, or give you steps on how to do that. Cool. Yeah, so that's the more important stuff. There is one other thing which is more of a day-to-day stuff that I did want to say a couple of things about. Is so when you sell something, and when you pick the date for a courier, just a couple of things that have come up in the recent past is the size that we pick for the package and the actual size sometimes doesn't match. And when that happens, Bluethumb gets charged the penalty for the additional pricing, which is fine. If it's not a significant amount, it's all right. It's not a problem. But it's sort of increased in the last couple of weeks. So what I wanted to say is, when you're when you're entering the pickup information, when you're booking the courier, and in the notes section, if you can, please mention the package size of the packed artwork. So say, for example, your artwork was 1 meter by meter, and then you've put it in a box which is 125 by 125, say, for example, because you don't have a smaller box. So just mention in there. It's fine to do that. Just mention in those comments box that the package size is that much. Don't worry too much about the weight, but if you can tell us what the weight is, please do. Or even if you can estimate it, just let us know, just so that we have an idea. So we usually add 1 or 2 kilos onto it and then do it, so that we're safe. If it's less, it's fine, but if it's more, we are penalized, obviously. Cool. That's pretty much all the main things that we want to talk about. We'll just get to the comments in a second. But quickly, I do also want to address a few things in the Facebook group. Like, I'm not going to go into detail, but what I wanted to say is that we don't really address those things or get involved in that, because a lot of the times it's not complete information, and also it's a channel where you guys can talk to each other and get advice and all that kind of stuff. But most of the times it's mostly caused by an email that we haven't seen, or they haven't seen, or the artist hasn't seen, or some sort of lack of information. We don't really take abrupt actions of terminating someone's account, or things like that. We usually don't get into that. There's always enough notice, and but if you do feel something that has happened or we've missed, always the best and the most secure way of reaching out is sending an email to help@bluethumb.com.au. The reason we say that over and over is because that is monitored by the whole team, so you can't really miss it. But jumping online on a chat is also a good idea, because during work hours, obviously we are working, and maybe we won't get to you immediately, like in a minute or two, but we will get to you the same day. But yeah, it's all a matter of communication. That's all. Cool. We'll just get to the comments.
There was one up the top from Marie that I might answer. When you're looking for an artwork for a trade project, any specifics for the title or tags? The title, I think Sarah has mentioned this in past webinars. Make sure your title's not generic. So don't call it beach or blue or, something really generic, because a lot of people do that, and it makes it really hard for us in our system to search for that artwork. So, in your title, just elaborate a little bit more, call it what you need. But if it's something just, not so generic, that's really helpful. Tags are really important as well, because when looking for artworks, I do quite a bit of searching. A client might want something specifically from a Sydney region or a landmark or something like that. So if your painting is of the Opera House or Story Bridge or, some sort of landmark, or essentially anything you can relate the artwork to, put the tags in, because they do work. And it is really helpful when I search for, sometimes I'm searching for specific artwork, so that would be good.
Yeah. With the artwork titles as well, I've seen a lot of artists sort of experiment things in by putting large art or certain keywords into the thing. It's fine for you to do that. We obviously will never say don't do that, but it does take away from the aesthetics of the artwork itself. If you look at established art, like title is not going to make or break a deal, is what I'm trying to say. It's more important, like when it comes about visibility and sort of how easily we find it, tags are really important. Obviously titles are important if we know what we're looking for, but for example, if a client has told Alex that we're looking for beach art, or we're looking for Sydney Harbour Bridge or something like that, so obviously those kind of things are more important in tag, but you might have called it something else, so it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, we'll still find it.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Sorry, just to mention as well, make sure you're not calling multiple artworks the same name. That has come up a few times where the picture of the artwork is clearly different, but they're called the same thing. You want to make sure all of your artworks are named individually.
I'll address Meg's comment. Thank you, Meg. We think Bluethumb's a very efficient way of selling art as well. You've been told that smaller paintings sell best these days, but I'd rather do big ones. I don't think that's a generalization that anyone can make. We do sell big paintings on a daily basis. If you go to Just Sold page, you'll see that bigger artworks do get sold as well. But obviously, smaller paintings are easier in terms of, because people spending $100 is much easier than spending $5,000. So obviously, it'll be less frequent. But again, it comes to who's buying it. Because it's not one person who's buying all these artworks, so it's really not a matter of size, but it's a matter of preference more than anything else.
For trade as well, it can help. If you are doing smaller artworks, that they are in the same size, so that because a client might be looking for something for a corridor, so maybe they want three artworks from one artist. So if they're all the same size, even if the subject matter is a little bit different, obviously to keep the size consistent is really important. So if you do work in those smaller sizes, if they are the same, then it sort of allows us to put that forward.
Yeah. Marie, I'll address your question about invoices. So you get invoices directly after the sale in your email. But I do know what your question comes from. And I'll just first address this. So Bluethumb and the system, the invoicing and everything is set up based on how things are supposed to be. And by saying that, what I mean is artwork sells, we pay for shipping, we ship the artwork, we pay you for the artwork. If in case you're sending your own artworks, so we credit the amount obviously to you, but it will not automatically reflect in the invoice because that will have to be done manually. So if you need an invoice updated or something like that, then you'll have to manually ask us to do that because the auto-generated invoices don't reflect that. Anything, and this is just one example, anything that's out of the ordinary or how the system works, it needs to be done manually. And invoices are, so when you get that first email, your artwork has been sold, just scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll see the invoice attached. We send you an invoice for you, and we also send you a copy of the invoice that we sent to the buyer, so you can keep that for your record. Cool. Julio, paintings over $1,000, do they get royalties from copyright agency? I don't understand that question fully. So usually when we sell to someone, they don't resell those artworks. So royalties from copyrights get involved when someone is using your artwork for a commercial use, which means they're using it to make money. For example, they're putting it in a magazine or using it on their websites, which generates money and stuff like that. So it doesn't usually apply to these sales, but we have worked with different agencies. The most recent one was Havana Homes Candles. In those cases where they want to use artist work in their branding or their design, we talk to the artist individually, pull up the agreements, generate the agreements, have it signed from the artist and the client, and sort all that out legally. So you have a copy of the agreement and they as well. So all that is not involved, all that is covered by us anyway. How long can I be waiting for delivery pickup before the buyer having it for 7 days kicks in? Jen, that's a case-by-case basis, but it usually it's no more than 2 to 3 days. Our logistics team works tirelessly pretty much every day to update our system. So what that means is they will go through each and every order that hasn't been marked as delivered yet, get in touch with the buyer, see if it's been delivered. If they don't hear back from them, they let you know or keep us updated. And then if nothing happens in the next 2 to 3 days, then we try to get in touch with the buyer. If not, then we start, or we'll keep you looped in and we'll start the 7-day period. I don't think there have been many cases where it has happened a lot, because when people buy a piece of artwork, usually they
They're waiting
very
for it.
they immediately the very next day start asking us, when am I gonna get it? So usually that doesn't happen. But in the cases that it does, we communicate with you first and see what the best solution is. Again, FB group, we won't get into detail. It's a group run pretty much by the artists. We've tried to create a platform where you guys can sort of put your ideas forward and learn from each other and sort of have an interaction. So we're gonna try and not get too much in detail in there. Student's name, the word. So Lisa's asking about the name. So don't use a name with number 1, number 2, etc.
No, I think that's fine, Lisa, as long as it's the actual name is quite clear. But if you want to put the name, series, number 1, number 2, or even 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, so that if it is a series that you probably want someone to purchase more than one, numbering like that is okay, as long as the title is still quite clear.
Cool. Marion is asking about love it or list it. To be honest, Marion, I personally don't know. I wasn't involved, but
oh yeah,
do you know?
Sorry, that was me. So that was about not renting but loaning artworks for a TV show. So the designer got in contact with us, wanted a few artworks. Unfortunately, we did have a few go into the mix, a few artists. Some they got to the project and they sort of didn't fit the decor, so they sort of got pulled out. Marion, with yours, obviously, was on a very tight deadline, so unfortunately it didn't go ahead. But that's great to know that you want to be involved, because we do get these smaller projects from time to time where TV shows want an artwork, or designers want to loan artworks for a photo shoot. So again, we rely on you guys. If you're happy to be involved, we'll obviously be in touch and go from there.
We get a lot of Instagram influencers as well. So influencers are people with huge followings, who usually are hired by particular brands or products to display their product and that kind of stuff. So a lot of the times they get in touch with us and say, oh, hey, can you give us an artwork and then we'll do this, blah, blah. Most of the times we say no, but even sometimes when we do get involved, then we'll get in touch with you and see if you would be open to doing something like that. But obviously a lot of the times they want everything for free and we try to not make that happen. So, all those things do happen. Cool. I did want to address Raynette, about statistics. About statistics. We have roughly registered 9,000 artists, but saying that, not all of them are active. We have, I think, I would say roughly around 5,000 artists who are actively logging in, which is still quite a lot. What else was I going to say? In regards to the most popular category or the least popular and artwork selling through Bluethumb, we can't actually share our sales numbers with you. So that's strictly something that I can't do, or anyone else can do. In terms of categories and least popular categories, the articles that are listed on the Bluethumb Help Center, they will give you a bit of an idea. But again, we try to not share that quite a lot because it does start having the sort of the wrong effect where we don't want to say this sells a lot, so paint this, which sort of takes away from everything. We always try to push every artist to do what they do best rather than saying why don't you, paint this particular category and this particular color, because in the last year we sold the most amount of number. Because that's not relevant though. Like, it depends on what kind of clients we have and what they're buying and stuff like that. So it's not something you can generalize, and that's why we don't share that. Otherwise, it will have a negative effect. Like if everyone starts spending the one particular category, it's not really going to work for anyone. Cool. Charmian. Sorry if I pronounce your names wrong as well, by the way. In general, we can't say frame or not frame. Depends on your artwork, depends on the client, depends on what's easy for you. What we sometimes do tell artists is, if your work, for example, is on paper or is something that will need framing before it can be hung, mention that in the artwork description itself. Say that this artwork can be framed, or the price included is inclusive of framing, but the artwork will be framed once the order is processed. So allow a week or 2 weeks of production time and stuff like that, so the buyers know that they can get it done from you, but it's not there yet. So also tells them that it will be a week or 2 weeks before you actually are able to ship that artwork out. So that saves you from spending money before something is sold, and also makes it easy for the buyers. It's the best solution out there. But again, we can't really generalize it and say everyone wants it framed or everyone wants it unframed. It's really difficult to answer that question for the whole pool of artists and the buyers that we have. Lisa's asking about the Pantone color. Do you want to address that?
So the Pantone color just got released for 2019, and it is coral.
I didn't even know that was a color. I thought that was a category of some sort.
Which is quite lovely. Look, I think it does have an effect, especially obviously when it comes to interiors. Obviously, interiors do follow trends and whatnot. Art, I don't know. I sit on the fence a little bit with this one. I think we will see more coral next year, but I don't think, you can say that everyone's going to follow this trend and it's going to be massive and all of that. So if you want to have a play with it and incorporate the colors into your art, of course, but I don't know. I think following trends is a little bit hit and miss sometimes.
I think, when we think of it from a client's point of view, it really doesn't make that much sense, because, going with the Pantone color of the year might be good if you're a graphic designer or if you are trendy. I don't know. But if you're buying things for your house, or if you're buying things for your clients, or if you're buying things for a project, or if you are gifting something to someone, the most common clients that we have, it doesn't really matter to them that much. So from that point of view, it doesn't. But, it never stops anyone from doing anything.
Yeah.
So,
Lisa, I agree. I don't think this year's ultraviolet color I don't think it really took off either. So, I saw it actually a little bit in furniture, but yeah, wasn't as big as, I think millennial pink was quite big, but anyway.
I'm glad that you guys are finding it informative. Hey, Paul. Long time no see. What else?
Better to use wire to hang your canvas, or can you use cord?
Either is fine.
As long as it's
strong enough.
Strong and gonna hold the weight. Yeah. It just needs to do the job, and we need to be confident that it does the job. There's nothing worse than putting an artwork up and a hanging system fails and it's on the floor. So yeah.
The small things is things like this, like the hanging wire and stuff like that, it's not a deal breaker unless it doesn't do its job. So if the art hangs, it's fine. That's all that really matters. Postage options for paperworks. The short answer is we are. Oh, that's a long answer. Short answer is no way soon. The long answer is that we are reconsidering our postage costs because we have made a few changes in the couriers that we use, and that's why we are talking so much about insurance and all that kind of stuff. But we need to make a few decisions on which direction we're going to go. But at this point, we won't have postage options for paperwork anytime soon. Cool.
Okay.
Cool. We're going to stick around for a few minutes to see if more questions come in. I'm just going to scroll all the way up and see if there are any questions that we missed. So feel free to ask any questions in the meantime.
Liz just asked a good question down the bottom.
Lay. Mention an active account. So do you have any plans to cull some of those accounts? Lee, sorry, we had a discussion about how do we pronounce your name. Lee, we did, I wouldn't say cull, but we did deactivate a lot of accounts which have not been active. So the number has gone down. It does help the site in terms of how it runs, but at the same time, we don't want to take an account away from someone. So we did give a lot of the artists enough notice and enough number of emails to say that don't deactivate. And again, when we do deactivate these accounts, it's not permanent, so it's just a button away. So if someone's account has been deactivated, just tell us and we'll activate it again. Because a lot of times when you're doing something in bulk, not everything goes right. Sort of we put different filters in, different options of like when you've logged in and stuff like that. And obviously some of the accounts do get tagged, which shouldn't be. So if something like that does happen, just let us know. But we have deactivated quite a few accounts in the past month or maybe a month and a half ago. And we do that regularly because we do get a lot of people because it's free, people sign up and then sort of change their minds or, move on to different new things and stuff like that happens. Cool. That's good to know, Marie. If something like that does come in for your work, we'll definitely let you know. And anytime something comes up for any particular art or artist, we obviously share that information because it's not a decision that we would just want to make just by ourselves. So we'll definitely let you know. Cool. Merry Christmas, everyone. There were a lot of greetings in earlier, but we didn't address them. But yeah, have a great holiday period. I am off next week, so see you guys in the new year after this webinar. Alex is here next week.
Yep, I'll be here next week, and then back on the 7th.
And poor Sarah is here the whole time, so be nice to her.
Yeah.
Just
going to be busy, so
yeah, just be nice to her. Cool. All right. And Julio, no, sorry, you can't sell sculptures at this point, unfortunately. Sorry, I'm just passing on these scissors to someone.
Okay.
Cool. All right. See you guys.
Right.
If you have more questions, obviously leave it here or jump onto the Facebook group, ask there. We'll keep things active. And yeah.
Cool. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good New Year.
Season's greetings and Happy New Year. And we'll see you on the other side. Cool.
Bye.
All right. See you guys.